by the president. Hard question. The Warsaw Convention on airline liability. A tort statute passed in 1790-something, I guess, called the Alien Tort Act or whatever, and it says that, what was it against? It gives you rights if you're a Paraguayan citizen tortured in Paraguay to sue in California. Why? Well, they were interested in pirates. You know, in those days, you can sue a pirate where you catch him. And so who are today's pirates? That's a hard question. And there are others like that. And we're getting more and more and more. And we get briefs from the EU, we get briefs from Japan, we get briefs from France, from Canada, from all over the place. And I'll tell you, I don't know the law of every country in the world. I don't know the law of any country in the world very well. And so who do I rely on? The lawyers. And if the lawyers can't look it up, we won't find out. And they can't look it up unless they're trained at the law schools. And our clients today, I guess, if I'm part of your profession, are more and more people who do business everywhere, a lot of them, or travel everywhere, or have connections everywhere. So I say that's important, how we train this generation of lawyers, so that we can, in fact, deal with the real legal problems, bread and butter, and not just some high visibility thing. So I say that's real. Okay, that's a very long answer.
Justice Breyer, there was an interesting consensus that came up among the journalists this morning. All three of us thought that the Supreme Court, in an age of celebrity, might be in danger of being overexposed. And the idea is that all of a sudden you guys are giving all these interviews and going on television in a way that never happened before. But authority requires a sense of mystery and distance. And someone noted that some of the justices who've been most on television have their popularity ratings going down the most. Is there a danger that you might become like Britney Spears if you appear too much on television? And isn't the solution, Justice Breyer, that you not give interviews to anyone else but only talk to me?
Will I become like Britney Spears? I mean, that's a point. I hadn't thought of that.
The mind reels, but there's always a danger.
Yeah, but it's a good question, hard answer. Because when I wrote this book we were talking about, I talked about the book on television. I'd say, well, why are you doing this? And I'd say, well, it's really the book's given me an excuse to be on television. Now, there's more to that than may seem, because there's truth to that. Because what is it I'm trying to do on television? The same thing I do when you talk to your students. I want to explain to people what the job is like. I want to explain to people what the court is about. Now, I say it's a good question because there is the risk you talk about. Though I'm not one that believes in today's world that it's mystery that gives authority. I think people are very suspicious of mystery and things in government they don't understand. And I think unless the average American does understand what we do and knows that we're human and knows what the job is and knows how we go about it, I think unless they understand that, they're going to end up not supporting it. And if they don't support it, goodbye. And there goes our independent bench, and the independent bar goes with it, I hate to tell you. So I need today to get across to young people who, unfortunately, from what I read, don't read. And I have to get across to that visual generation what it is we do. And you have to do that too, because I'm in no different position from you. Actually, you're better doing it. You're better if you're not a judge. Because people think if the judge starts talking about what he does, it's a kind of long commercial. And they'll turn off to things that in ways they won't turn off to if the lawyers explain it to them. Okay, there's the problem. But you're still right. I'm not going to go start talking about how in 1943 my father took me to Golden Gate Park and I went on the merry-go-round, because frankly that isn't very interesting to people. And
actually, go on.
No, it was right. No, I mean it did. It was a great merry-go-round. They used to, but and I take my grandchildren now. I love it. So that's there's nothing to do with it for me. Now, it might for somebody else. That's their decision. How that there is a need, a really desperate need, for the bar and for the bench to get people, 99% have never been in a courtroom. And they don't understand. And they don't understand the need for an independent judiciary and an independent bar. That's called independent bench and bar. And we have to get that across to these next generations. And now how I play my part in that is a question I haven't fully answered. My instinct is in part, but it requires a lot of line drawing to do what I've been doing. And I don't know if that's the right thing, but I'm going to try, because I want people to understand what it is that we do.
What do you do for fun?
Oh,
He just said he wouldn't talk about that stuff.
I don't know, we go to movies, we bicycle, read, play bridge, I don't know, a lot of different things. And I love coming out here because we're going to go on a hike tomorrow. Oh, I shouldn't say that because it's a program tomorrow. Oh, well, maybe don't tell you. All right, there we are.
Justice Breyer, the court that decided Brown versus Board of Education had a lot of politicians. 7 politicians, 3 former attorneys general, senators, a lot of political experience, no former judges. Mm-hmm. Your court has, God forbid, 6 former law professors and 9 former judges. You care a lot about practical experience, consequences. Would it be better to have some more politicians on the court?
Might. The Justice Black was a good politician and was a very, very fine Supreme Court justice. Given the time, I think the Chief Justice Earl Warren did wonderful things for this country under law. And equal protection clause meant equal protection. And the Warren Court believed that. And that's what the law meant, and that's what they said. And that's what they tried to get done. All right, so there have been people in political life who have been terrific Supreme Court justices. And so I don't know what the right background is. Obviously, we know that for most jobs, really it's the person given a certain level of qualification. And ultimately, I think probably that person, whoever it is who is appointed, himself or herself, just doesn't know what's going to happen. So you have to be a quick learner. And Black was. And so I have no a priori view. Say, would there be people who would be great in political life? Sure. And you pointed out, you said Cuomo didn't want to be shut up in that ivory tower. That's what you said, Governor Cuomo. And I can see that point. I has to be somebody who would like the job. And but there are quite a few. But still, so I think that might be fine. But that ultimately the appointment is in the hands of the president, confirmed by the Senate. I have no role in it.
Justice, should we judges on the lower courts feel bound by dicta in Supreme Court opinions?
It depends on what it is. What's a dictum? I mean, you're in this profession, you write some reasoning and you do your best to figure it out, and it depends on what it is, on what it says, on its role in the opinion, and a lot of cases, of course, when the court is trying to think its way through something, and it depends on what it is. You read that opinion, you see what it's about, you try to figure out what's at the heart of it and what's the message going out there that's important, and you don't try to be too psychoanalytic about every word of the opinion. So you're not going to follow every word, and you're going to follow what you feel is the important part of that opinion. So you do this every day. You do a fine job.
Thank you.
Justice Breyer, you were a law clerk at the Supreme Court in the 60s. Can you tell us one or two anecdotes from your time as a law clerk for Justice Goldberg?
I loved working for Justice Goldberg. It was great. I mean, he was terrific, and he was nice to his clerks, and people worked harder then. Well, we work hard, but we'd go in every Saturday. He'd be there, and he'd take us to lunch. And there were only 2 clerks then, which was nice because you had a closer personal relationship. And he was a big enthusiast. And he was happiest, actually, I think, when he was Secretary of Labor. And after he left the court, he was only there for 3 years, really, and then he resigned.